Hello and welcome. My name is Redboot, and welcome back to this playthrough of Arkham Horror, the living card game distributed by Fantasy Flight Games, and the Night of the Zealot, the first scenario, The Gathering. And here's the situation on the board right now. We've got Roland up in the attic and with a low shroud value, trying to pick up those two clues up there and get the victory point. We've got Rex Murphy down in the basement with a relatively high value, but a little bit better at investigating and hopefully going to pick up those three. But we'll see what the Mythos phase has to offer in a moment. But before we do, there was one error that I wanted to, minor error, but I wanted to point it out because I think, one of the points of these videos is to make sure that people watch them and learn how to play properly. At the beginning of the game, you may recall that as my fifth card, I drew Psychosis for Roland, and I mulliganed to that card, and that's actually wrong. You simply put that card aside and redraw, and then do your mulligans, because otherwise you waste a mulligan card. Now, it really wouldn't have mattered. I was looking to get a weapon out, and it took a while to get a weapon out. I think there were 4 or 5 cards before we actually started drawing weapons, and now we have Roland's 38 special, and we have the machete and so forth. So I think we're in better shape. So I think the plan for, but I did want to point that out, and I wanted to thank Chick Lewis on the Board Game Geek forum for pointing that out in particular, because he was right on the money. So I think the plan for today is we don't need to go really fast. So I want to concentrate on picking up the clues to get victory points, getting some weapons out for Roland, maybe getting physical training out. He's got emergency cash, which is going to help with that. Rex Murphy is going to try to get the clues in the basement. And I'm, feeling optimistic. My guess is that the encounter deck is probably going to come back and bite me in the butt, but we'll see what happens. So with that, let's move forward to the Mythos phase. Okay, so here are the agenda and the act decks, and as you can see, we have the barrier for the act deck, which requires us to have 6 clues. Right now we have 3 and 5 on the board to get, so we have plenty of clues to go for. And we have 7 before we have to turn over the agenda deck. Now we have 6 because I'm going to put 1 Doom on there. But that's one of the reasons I say I think we have plenty of time because there are not many mechanisms in this game. There's 1 encounter card, one of which we've already had, that adds Doom to the agenda, but there aren't a lot of ways to add Doom to the agenda, so I think we can be reasonably confident that we still have 6 rounds before we advance the agenda, and I think that should give us plenty of time, but we'll see how things work out as the encounter deck comes into play. So with that, let's go to the encounter deck. Okay, so here we are at the encounter deck, and we will draw first for Roland because he is the lead investigator, and we pick up a Ravenous Ghoul. I think I'll put that on top of the deck so you can see it, but it's a prey card, and it preys on the lowest remaining health, which is Rex Murphy, if the opportunity ever arises. But for the moment, this is Roland's card, and so it spawns in the attic, and we'll put that on the corner of the attic card. It's a pretty tough ghoul. It's got a 3 to hit, but it's got 3 damage, so Roland's going to have to take care of this really before he can get out his card. So that's going to be a little bit of a delay to our plans, which is really not a surprise. Okay, so next up is Rex Murphy, and he gets Rotting Remains. Test 3 willpower, and for each point we fail by, we take 1 horror. So the good news here is that he has a 3 willpower, so it's a 3 to 3 or 0 test, and he's got 9 horror, I believe. Yes, and so I'm not terribly worried about this, but let's see if there's anything that we can throw at this to make it a little bit more palatable. Well, taking a look at his hand here, we see that we have Inquiring Mind, which is a 3 wild card, and we have an Unexpected Courage, which is a 2 wild card. I'm not really inclined to commit either one of those to this test at this point. We have no willpower cards anywhere. Oh, no, we do. We have shortcut. But once again, I'm not really... Shortcut is really not bad. We're only going back to the hallway. You know, I think I will actually go ahead and commit the shortcut card. My finger is covering it up, but there's a willpower icon up there at the top. So that will convert a 0 test to a -1 test. So we need a -1 or better. And reach into the bag, and I pick up a -2. So that actually worked out fairly well because we missed by 1 point instead of 2. And therefore we need to put 1 horror on Rex's card. So that wasn't too bad as encounter cards come. Certainly not as bad as Roland's. So that is it for the Mythos phase. So let's move on to the Investigator phase. So here we are at the Investigator phase. Roland has engaged with, and in fact I need to put that in his engagement area, his threat area. So I'm going to move that off camera to his threat area. We'll get over there in a few minutes. For the Ravenous Ghoul. So he is engaged with the Ravenous Ghoul, and Rex is sitting in the cold basement eyeing 3 clues. So I think we're going to go with Rex first, just so that we can sort of get that out of the way. And I think we're going to go ahead and pick up clues. We don't have any assets or events. You know, I just realized I just realized that I didn't think of Rex's curse, but you only draw another token out of the bag if you succeed in the test, and I failed in the test, so okay, we're okay. I was just thinking I have to keep in mind that Rex's curse is still in play in Rex's threat area, but he did not succeed in that test, although it wasn't a bad failure, it was still a failure, so I think we're still okay. So we're going to go with Rex, and we're going to go with trying to get rid of those 3 clues so that we can get that victory point. So we have a shroud value of 4 in the cellar, and Rex has an intellect of 4. In addition, we have the magnifying glass, and we have Dr. Milan Christopher, which moves our intellect up to 6. We have a -2 test. And I think I'm going to go ahead for this first one, and I'm going to devote emergency aid to the cause. I don't think we're going to have cause to use this in this particular playthrough. So I think I'm going to maximize my chances of getting one of these clues and use emergency aid. So I'll go ahead and discard that. So that gives us a test of -3. That means we need a -3 or better. And I pull a cultist, and a cultist is a -1, and if I fail, I take 2 horror. Now remember, with Rex's curse, I have to draw again, which is kind of stinks. So I have a -3. I got a broken tablet, which is a -2. If there's a ghoul enemy at my location, I take 1 damage. So I passed both of those tests, and therefore Rex gets 1 more clue. So 2 clues to go in the cellar. So sponging off of that success, I think I'm going to go ahead and give it another try for his second action. So for this one, I don't have the emergency aid to devote, so this is a -2 or better. And he gets a -1. So he has to draw again because of Rex's curse. And once again, we get a -1. So we have a success there. So I'll put this clue over on his pool. And I think we're going to go again. We've had a little bit of luck. Let's go ahead and try to get these clues done so that we can get out of the basement, and where dangerous things can happen. So again, we have a -2, and once again, I picked up a -1. I really am jiggling these around. I probably should do this on camera, but it's a little bit easier for me to hold it behind the camera. And I just had a tab break. No, I guess I'm fine. So let's go ahead and pull a tablet. I swear to God, I am jiggling these around. Another -1, so that's 2 successes. That's good enough with Rex's curse to pick up this clue. And we now have 6 clues, which is enough to advance the act deck. But again, I'm not in a rush. So let's, well, that's 3 actions anyway. So let's move on to Roland and kind of see how he does with the Ravenous Ghoul. Okay, here's the Ravenous Ghoul up in Roland's threat area. And it has a 3 fight. Roland has a 4 fight. So we already have a -1 or better. But I don't want to take a chance. So I don't have the machete in play, unfortunately, and I can't put the machete in play without taking an attack of opportunity. So I'm going to take a resource off of Roland's 38 special, an ammo, and that gives me +1 for the attack. If there are 1 or more clues on your location, you get +3 instead. And in fact, there are 1 or more clues on my location, so that gives me a +3, which is great. And the attack deals +1 damage. So I have 4 + 3 is 7 against a value of 3. So I need a -4 or better. And I get a 0. So that is a success. And we will place a damage on 2 damage on the Ravenous Ghoul. And we're going to take another shot at him with Roland's 38 special. I hate to waste the 38 special on a Ravenous Ghoul, but I want to get this done quickly so I can get those clues. So we need a -4 still. We get a skull, which is -X, where -X is the number of ghouls at the locations. That's a -1. So that's plenty to succeed. Okay, so that puts a 3rd damage on the Ravenous Ghoul, and therefore eliminates the Ravenous Ghoul. So we'll put that back in the encounter pile, since it doesn't have any victory points associated with it. Roland has 1 more action, and he is going to explore the attic. Or just to be clear, I guess he's going to investigate the attic. That's the proper term. So the shroud value is 1. He has a intellect of 3. Let's see if there's anything we can throw at this. There is not. He doesn't really have a lot of intellect cards, and Rex is not in the same location as him, and so cannot help out. So we're going to take this as a -2 test, and we get the Elder Sign, which for Roland is +1 for each clue on the location, so that's +2. Doesn't really matter. It's enough to pick up the clue. So we'll take that clue, and we'll put it on Roland's card. And that is 7 clues total between Roland and Rex, and 1 more clue to pick up in the attic. Unfortunately, that is Roland's 3rd action, so he's not going to be able to put machete and physical training in play, which I definitely want to do before we get into the final act here. So we'll have to hope that the encounter deck doesn't deal us nastily like it did on the just before. So that is the investigator phase, and with that we move to the enemy phase. And of course, after the defeat of the Ravenous Ghoul, there are no enemies on the board, so there's no enemy phase, or rather we don't do anything in the enemy phase. So we move to the upkeep phase. Now we'll have Roland draw first. He's got 8 cards, so he's going to have to get rid of 1. But let's see what he gets. He gets First Aid. And in fact, we already have a First Aid. Yeah, I think I'm inclined to get rid of First Aid. In fact, yeah, if you don't mind, I forgot, and I don't know that it's a big deal because I don't know that anything has taken place that would preclude it, but I forgot to play If It Bleeds. Now, some of you may think that this is a little bit cheesy of me, but I am going to go ahead and play that. After you defeat a monster enemy, each investigator at your location heals 1 horror equal to the enemy's horror value. The enemy's horror value is 1. Roland has 1 horror on him, which I will discard. I hope you didn't think that was cheesy, and then I will keep First Aid. So anyway, that's how I'm going to play it, because I I don't feel that anything happened in the meantime that sort of gave me an advantage. I just forgot to play it. So we'll see what the weight of opinion is on that. So Roland is then going to take a resource. I'll put one resource in Roland's pool. And now we move to Rex Murphy. So his card is Emergency Cash. Always useful. We'll put that down here. And we'll give him one resource as well. And that moves him from 3 resources to 4 resources. So with the end of the upkeep phase, that means we move into the next Mythos phase. So we're going to put a Doom on the agenda. We now have 2 of the 7 that are necessary in order to advance the agenda. In the meantime, we already have, remember, the 6 clues. Sorry, what we do, we already have the 6 clues necessary to get rid of the barriers. So I'm going to move into the hallway soon and prepare for what I believe will be the final fight. And hopefully we will prevail. So let's move to the encounter deck and see how bad things can get. Now, what I'd rather not have is another monster come out, particularly for Rex, because he's not very good at fighting monsters, because I just don't want to sort of delay the process at this point. The one monster that I wouldn't mind having come out would be the Icy Ghoul, because if memory serves me, the Icy Ghoul has a victory point associated with it, and that wouldn't be too bad to try to get a victory point, at least if Roland is the one who is fighting it. But let's see what happens. I'm going to draw Roland first, because he's the lead investigator, and he gets a Flesh Eater. Well, I forgot about this one, and that's fine. It's got a victory point associated with it. It spawns in the attic, and Roland is in the attic. So it's got 4 fight, 4 health, and 1 agility. So it's easily evadable, but I don't want to evade it. I want to fight it because I want to get that victory point. So I'm going to move that over here into Roland's threat area because it's going to immediately engage with Roland. And now we will draw Rex's card. Rex draws... Wow, me and my big mouth. He draws the Icy Ghoul, which spawns in the cellar, right where Rex is. I really don't know that Rex can fight this very easily, although he does have some fight cards. I might, but this monster has an evade of 4, and Rex has an evade of 3. I may need to use Inquiring Mind to escape the Icy Ghoul. The Icy Ghoul, once we escape it and move into the hallway, will be locked in the basement. And maybe I can move Roland down there to fight it and try to get that additional victory point. But yeah, I definitely opened my big mouth and sort of jinxed myself with these deck draws, didn't I? Well, that's the way it goes in Arkham Horror, the living card game, and no sense crying over spilled milk. I almost said scrying over spilled milk, but crying. Okay, so we move into the investigator phase. Well, once again, this is going to delay Roland, but I am going to fight the Flesh Eater. I'm a little bit reluctant to use his 38 special. I think there's another gun in the deck. We might be lucky enough to pick it up, but there is no additional ammunition in the deck, so I'm very reluctant to sort of waste the 38 special. The good news is I do have the machete out, and there's no Crypt Chill in the deck, which would require me to get rid of a card in my play area. So I can still get the machete out at some point in the future. I think what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to go ahead and fight him 3 times. And I think I'm going to use the 38 special. Shoot. The 38 special is only going to give me +1 in the boss fight because there's no clues. So I do get the +3 now. So yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and use the 38 special. Some of you are probably going, no, save it. But I'm going to use it. So I get a +3. His intellect is 4. The Flesh Eater's fight is 4. I get a +3, which means I need a -3 or better in order to succeed. And I pick up an Elder Sign, which is a +1, because there is 1 clue on the location, and that is enough. Excuse my bumping that. That is enough to put a damage on the Flesh Eater. So we will go again. We get a +3 again because there is a clue in the location, and we pick up a skull, which is a -1 because I don't know if it's a ghoul. It is a ghoul. So it's a -1, but that's, again, sufficient. So we're going to put another damage on the Flesh Eater. Roland's going to probably end up taking 2 horror here, unfortunately. I wonder if we should try to evade it so that it's exhausted and we get it next turn, because I really don't want to take 2 horror. I don't remember if the boss at the end of this fight, I think it has 2 horror. And so I think I'm going to, rather than try to fight it again. Oh, and I forgot to discard the resource for Roland's 38 special, so that's tapped at this point. And I don't think we have any way to reload it. So I think I don't have an evade. I think I'm going to attempt an evasion, which is rare with Roland, but the Flesh Eater is only a 1 evade, and Roland has a 2 evade value, so he needs a -1 or better, and we pick up a -2. So he failed the evasion test, unfortunately, and so the Flesh Eater is going to hit him in the next round, but there's nothing I can do to avoid, in the enemy phase, and nothing I can do to avoid that at this point. It was worth a try. Now, Rex is stuck in the cellar with the Icy Ghoul. Icy Ghoul has a fight of 3 and a health of 4. Rex has a fight of 2. He does have some cards that will help him fight, but I don't really want to waste them right now. I'm more inclined to have him evade, even though it's a high, it's going to be tough to do that. But I'm more inclined to have him evade and move up to the hallway, and Roland maybe come down to the cellar to take care of the Icy Ghoul. Maybe, to try to pick up that victory point. I'm sort of torn about that. So, but I think what I'm not torn about is I think I want to have Rex attempt the evasion. So he's got an evade value of 3. The Icy Ghoul has an evade of 4. I'm going to throw Inquiring Mind at this test. It's got, is it in focus? It's got 3 wild cards, so I'm going to use those as evades. So I need a -2 or better, so I'll discard Inquiring Mind. Oh, you know what? I'm reading the text of the Inquiring Mind card, and I can't use it because I'm only allowed to commit it to a skill test if there's a clue at my location. So this might be a completely wasted card, actually. So I am going to use Unexpected Courage. Wow. So I need a -1 or better in order to see if we can get that in focus. Yes. I need a -1 or better in order to evade the Icy Ghoul. So this is a pretty key draw. So let's see how it goes. I need a -1 or better, and I get a -2. So I fail to evade the Icy Ghoul, and that is just not good. I think I'm going to try again. This time I'm going to throw Bait and Switch at it. Unfortunately, that's only a +1, so I need a 0 or better. And I believe there are only 4 tokens that get me where I need to go, and this is not one of them. That is a -1. And if I fail, I believe I take 1 horror. I do. So we'll put 1 horror on Rex's card. He's got 2 horror now. And for my third action, I'm going to suck it up and attempt to fight. So I do have a fight card. I was hoping to save it, but I've got a plan, which enables me to use Intellect as an attack and deal +1 attack And for each clue I have, 1 additional damage. I've actually can, maybe I should have used this first, but well, there's no sense going back now. I can deal a max of 3 damage because I have 4 clues and I get +1 damage for each clue that I have. So it uses intellect, so I have a 4 intellect against a 3 fight, and I have Dr. Milan Christopher, and I have the magnifying glass, so I'm going to fight with them as well. That gives me 7 intellect against 3, so I need a -4 or better. Probably should have done this in the first place, but live and learn. I drew a skull, which is -1 for each ghoul. That's a -1, and I deal 3 damage to the icy ghoul, which is a good start. So we'll put 3 damage on him. Unfortunately, he's going to also hit back during the enemy phase, but nothing I can do about that at this point. And I will discard. I've got a plan. And lick my wounds. So let's first, that is the end of the investigator phase, so let's go to the enemy phase. We will have an eventful enemy phase this time. So we are going to do 1 damage physical and 2 damage horror to Roland up in the attic. So Roland will take 1 physical damage, put that there. Whoops, that's a clue. And he will take 2 horror damage, which is not great because he already has, he only has 5 to begin with, so he has 3 left. And he's going to have to do some fighting before the end of the day, so but that's the way it goes. And the Icy Ghoul is the opposite. He does 2 physical damage and 1 horror damage, which again is not good for Rex Murphy because he can't afford much in the damage department. So we'll give him 2 physical damage and 1 horror damage. So he has now 3 each. Not doing too bad on horror because he has 9, but he's only got 3 damage left to take for and before he's defeated and out of the game. So we need to probably get some emergency aid on him. We have a couple first aid cards that we can use on him. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. It's just going to take a little bit of a delay and therefore, sort of an extra encounter card, but I don't know that there's much we can do about that. In the meantime, though, we got to fight these monsters, so let's move to the upkeep phase. All right, here's Roland's hand, and we will draw a card, and we get Cover Up. The Treachery card. Put Cover Up in your play area, in your threat area with 3 clues on it. When you would discover 1 or more clues at your location, discard that number from Cover Up instead. This is a nasty card, largely because of what comes next. It says, forced, when the game ends, if there are any clues on cover-up, you suffer 1 mental trauma. We definitely want to avoid that for Roland, so this is a very unlucky break for us. But we'll put this up in his threat area, and he, on the plus side, he does get 1 resource. So that's a small compensation for a couple of really bad cards for Roland between the Flesh Eater and the Cover Up. Now it's Rex's turn to draw. We can't draw his Treachery card, his weakness, but we might be able to draw his second weakness I still think is in the deck, but we didn't. We got Research Librarian, which we really don't need at this point, unless I can search the deck for a tome asset and add it to my hand. Going back over this, I don't remember whether we have medical texts in there. I think we do have, I think we do, actually. I can't remember whether it was medical texts or this old book of lore, or both. But that might come in handy because we do need to do some healing at some point, I think, when we have a chance. So that is the, and he gets a resource, so he moves from 4 resources to 5 resources. And that is the end of the upkeep phase. And I think we'll call the video here. I said in the last video that I would try to complete this quest, this scenario in the next video, and I don't know what I was thinking. It takes longer than that to do this. And in any event, I'd rather make a little bit shorter videos, get them posted, get some advice from you all about things that we may have done incorrectly, because we don't want mistakes to linger any more than we need to. So we began this scenario with Roland in the attic and Rex in the basement, and we end this session with Roland in the attic and Rex in the basement, both with more clues, but probably worse off because of some of the bad cards we drew. So that wasn't a very good video session, but hopefully we'll improve it later and get some better cards. So thank you for watching. Thank you for your comments and your likes and even your dislikes. I really appreciate all of them, and we'll try to answer them as best I can, your comments anyway. But particularly if I made any mistakes that you detected, I'd appreciate it if you post them, because I want to make sure that people who watch these videos have the opportunity to learn how to play the game properly and not witness a lot of mistakes that they incorporate into their own games. So that's sort of the idea here. So thank you very much, and we will see you on the next episode.